Hello John, this is going to be your video on how to operate your Mace Windu Lightsaber. So this is going to be how it comes when it's shipped to you in this box. You just open it up. It's got a few things in it, so I'll just go over them briefly. You have the lightsaber, of course, but you also have this. This is a bag of not exactly replacement grips, but these are alternative grips. These are shorter, not as tall as these ones. These ones are more screen and prop accurate than these ones. These ones are apparently more comfortable to hold. The reason I didn't use these initially though is I think one of them seems to be a little bit mangled, and that's how it was shipped to me. Unfortunately, I don't have any other replacement ones to give to you because this is all that it came with. But the ones that are on here are all pretty much fine, so just in case you ever needed to, you have them here anyways, so yeah. You could maybe ask Corbanth if they have any more replacement ones if you really needed to. You also have this optional faceplate, button plate thing, because as you know, this has the BMF logo on it. I took off the normal one and put the BMF one because I liked it better, but if you want, you can always just pull it off, put this one on. I think it's just glued on with a little bit of double-sided adhesive. All these grips are adhered with double-sided adhesive, like adhesive tape, so it's not the strongest. I did replace some of them with some Loctite, so they're nice and secure. So all the more loose ones are more secure. But if any of them do tend to pop off or anything, you can just pull them off a little bit, re-glue them with something you'd like, but it feels pretty solid to me as it stands, so just keep that in mind. If you have any sort of sideways pressure on it, it might loosen it up a little bit or anything, but for the most part, you're just holding it like this, so it's not gonna do much. So just keep that in mind, because that's the only thing that I noticed about this lightsaber is this is a little bit loose, but everything else, like this is super, super good, but you can still pull it off and replace it with the other one, but everything else is incredibly solid. This thing is a heavy lightsaber. I don't know what exactly this thing is made of, but it's really, really hefty, which feels really nice. But yeah, that's a thing to keep in mind with the grips. Came with this in the box originally as well, just an assembly video if you ever need it. So I'll just put this down for now, and then you'll have the battery. This is the neck piece that's going to be putting the blade, that you can put the blade in there. It also has 3 retention screws on the sides there. I'll show it to you later, because what's in it right now is the blade plug. So this whole top section is the blade plug. So well, not that part, this part. This whole top section is the blade plug. So you take it out, and there you go. You can't just put the blade in because you have no way to retain it, and it doesn't look good. So that's why they have this. But anyways, on to the last piece that's in the box, which is just the Allen wrench. There we go. I will be taking this out so that I can use it. But to show off the lightsaber, this is going to be how it works. You just take the battery out, and then you have the lightsaber. I designed the chassis for this because there is no chassis for it at the moment, or there wasn't when I was making it. I don't think there is anymore, or I still don't think that there is any chassis for it that's been officially released for like consumers or anything. So I had to design my own, which gave me the freedom to add a bunch of space for other things like this OLED display. I also managed to fit a 24mm speaker in here. I think they wanted to have a 22mm speaker fit in here, in this bottom section. Here, I'll just show that off to you. So all this can unscrew. I think they wanted to put a 22mm speaker in this little pod to go out there, because it was a bit tricky trying to fit everything in this one little space, but I managed to keep it 24mm speaker. It sits right on top of here. So this whole thing is held in with diameter, pressure, and friction, but mainly it hits the roof, or the top part. There's a little lip underneath, I'll show that off to you. So it hits the little lip down there, and then the very bottom of the chassis hits this part. So as you can see, when everything is screwed in, I measured it precisely so that when it's screwed in, it's held in place. So there's no rattling around or anything. You don't need retention screws to hold the chassis in place. It just works great. It took me maybe 8 tries to get this chassis down. I don't know how many, I don't remember, but it took a lot. But I got the measurements down perfectly. And as you can see, this part slides super easily too. There's no friction preventing it from turning. That was one of the issues with my previous iterations, was this was ever so slightly wide, so you had a little bit of friction going in, but now it goes in incredibly smoothly. So we'll just screw all of this stuff back in, and then I'll show you this part. This part also unscrews. Sometimes this can get a little bit loose because this stuff will all move for whatever reason, so you can just use an Allen key to tighten it down in there. And then you have the cover tech, of course, on the side. These are the buttons. These don't work on the sides, they're just decorative, but this one works. That's the power, this is the auxiliary, and this is just the little plate thing that has BMF on it. And that's about it for the hilt itself. So we'll just unscrew it and see how easily this unscrews. I'm very happy with how this came out. It's great. Very easy to use. And then I had to make it so that it fits perfectly in here, so it allows a battery to be taken in and out very simply while the chassis is still in the lightsaber itself. So you can just plop it in. It turns on. Got the OLED display. If you press the auxiliary button, it'll cycle through the different preset screens. And then you can also just pull this whole thing out, and that's how you have access to the soundboard itself. You can just push on that, take it out. You also have access to the micro USB, but you never really need that since I do have Bluetooth in here. So you can just use Bluetooth to update the firmware, do whatever you need to on your computer or whatever. And then you still have good access to your SD card. Got your NeoPixel connector here, your power switches, so you can...
Energy critical.
I gotta charge the battery. Auxiliary. And it does have blade detection, so right now it's in its non-working mode, which is the...
Cell energy critical.
Probably should have checked to see if this had batteries beforehand. But anyways, that's how this works. And then when you put it in the lightsaber, you want to make sure that the buttons are lined up with this middle plate, because that's the button. So you just line it up, slide it in, and then you want to make sure you can press all the buttons easily. If you can't, just shift it either to the left or to the right a little bit until you can easily press it. But yeah, shine through blade plug. There you go. Then we put this on.
Cell energy critical.
I don't remember exactly what percentage I have this on for volume. It's either 60 or 75%. You don't really want to go higher than 75% just to keep things safe for the speaker. I'm going to be putting the blade in now. So you just screw it into the top. I'm going to wipe off all the fingerprints before I send this to you. It does, since it's like chromed and whatnot, it's a fingerprint magnet. It's crazy. So with blade detection, you just put the blade in. And then that's the connection sound. Then it goes to the working font.
Cell energy critical.
Purple is the default here. Oops. Make sure that the pins are properly in contact. So you do want to tighten it down. Oops. Yeah, I don't have it on the pins properly, or it's the battery being messed up. So You always want to make sure the battery is fully charged before you do all this stuff, or else everything is going to be all screwy. So I'm going to grab a fully charged battery real quick. This one might do. We'll see if this one works. I'll show you how to check the battery level. So you can just pull the battery out here. So one of these is the battery level indicator. It's this one. This one also has low battery, as you can see. It only has 3. So I'm not doing too well on charging my batteries, but this one should be a little bit better than the previous. So let me just make sure all of the retention screws are loosened enough for the blade to go in properly. There we go. And then I'm going to just tighten it. Give me just a second. I'm just tightening it down with the 3 retention screws. There we go. Now you have the blade. Blaster blocks. You have blade lockup. It also has color change by pressing both at the same time. It goes into spectrum mode. You can just turn it and it goes to all the different preset colors. I'll go back to purple, wherever that is. Oops. Oh, so
Spectrum.
to accept it, you just press the activation button again, or the auxiliary. Okay, purple is really weird in here. Don't know where to find it on the scroll wheel. But in any case, it'll reset once you do whatever you need to do with it. You turn it off and stuff. It's really weird that I can't find purple in here, but I think there's also another color change mode where you have some other control things, but all this is stuff you can do on your config file itself. I'm not too familiar with the controls because I haven't messed with it in a long time. I set it up once and then I just built lightsabers. Sorry, it's late, but I'll just select like this green one, I guess. There you go. You can also scroll through the different blade animations if you go into spectrum mode by pressing both of them.
Spectrum.
If you just hold down the auxiliary button,
Blade profile.
it goes into blade profiles, and then you can scroll through the different profiles here. And that's basically just the animations that I have preset. So we'll just go ahead and choose one. You can also scroll through the fonts by holding down the auxiliary when the power is off and then flashing. Then it goes forward. Green. Come on. Sorry about that. My phone's running out of storage space, so it likes to cut off my video. So I'll try to make this fast. I think where I was at was how you can change fonts. So you could hold down the activation button and clash, and then it skips forward. You can also hold down the auxiliary button. That's the easier way. It goes into sound bank selection. You can go forward by pressing the auxiliary button. You just go through the different fonts. You can select it by holding down one of the buttons. And then, there we go. What else? Alright, if you go into the sound font selection, you can go forward 5 by pressing both at the same time.
CrystalFX.
Does the weather ever get better here?
There we go. Okay, you also have gesture controls. So I set up twist on and twist off. It's a bad one to show it off because it's a very, very slow font. I'll go back to the first one.
Sound bank selection.
And since we have the blade detection in, with the way that it's set up and how it works, is when you do go into the sound font selection and you hold it down, it will start from the first font on the list of fonts instead of starting off with whatever font you're on. That's because it resets back to the font that it switches to when you put the blade in. So I don't remember if I showed you this, but you just change colors by pressing both at the same time. You can shift it and then just select it. I think I had the issue before where I had no idea where purple was, so I'll just select a color. It'll reset once you turn off the saber and turn it back on. It'll go back to its preset colors. You can also go into the spectrum mode and go into blade profiles by holding down the auxiliary button. Just turn it and you go into the different animations. I'm pretty sure I told you all this already.
Color profiles.
I can't think of much else to show you other than Bluetooth, which is an important part. So let me just grab my other phone here so I can show it off to you. So, there is a trick to getting it to work on your phone for the first time. You're going to want to download 2 apps. I'm going to have them in the description of the video. I'm also going to have in the description all the things you need to know about customization for the lightsaber and any other things that you should keep in mind about the operation of the saber itself. But you want to download ForceSync and CrystalFX. ForceSync is not as useful for CrystalFocus with Bluetooth. So you only really download it so that you can find the Bluetooth for the first time, because sometimes CrystalFX doesn't find it. It's going to be this FSC BT909. Click on CrystalFocus. Oh, whoops. So you got to be close enough for it to happen originally. Then it'll be fine at a little bit further distance. Come on. There we go. Okay, so I seem to have already connected to this before. So it will originally, when you first try and connect it, it'll ask for a password. It's going to be 6 zeros. I'll have that in the description as well. So it's just 0000000. Then you're going to want to go to disconnect it from the ForceSync and go to CrystalFX. Connect it. And this is going to be your app where you can update the firmware and go to the different blade profiles, the blade profile library just on the internet. You can just upload it straight to your lightsaber. So pretty much all of your controls that you need is on here. You can go into remote control. You also have the custom commands down here, which is very useful. I'll have the manual in the description so you can read up on all of this and all the different commands you can give it. But yeah, power on, flashes. We can swap through the different blade profiles here just by clicking it. So we'll leave it on this one for now, and then I'll find the purple. There we go, found it again. We'll leave it on this one. And then you have all the different sounds. You have different effects. But this Bluetooth app is going to be important if you want to update the firmware or do whatever customization you want to do outside of taking the SD card out and messing with the parameters on there or the sound fonts on there, because the SD card is where you're going to put all the sound fonts. Yeah, so just keep that in mind. You will have to have the ForceSync app first to find it. 6 zeros as the password. And then you come over to CrystalFX, and this is going to be your main Bluetooth app. So I do have about 30 different fonts in here. They're all free fonts, but they're good ones. I can't think of much else that you should keep in mind about this lightsaber. If you do have any issues with it, if it freezes, it might freeze due to getting confused on something, because sometimes the board gets confused if there's too many things happening at once. That mainly happens with blade detection if it's not detected properly, or if it's detected multiple times in a short span. It might freeze on you, in which case it won't be responsive, and you'll figure out like, oh, it's frozen. So you just open it up, look inside, and this will be stuck on some animation or whatever. Then you just take the battery out, put it back in, and then it'll be fixed. So that pretty much fixes everything if it freezes. There's pretty much nothing else that would go wrong with it. You can, if there is something weird that happens, you can always just go into the SD card, copy all the contents to your computer, reformat the card, and then put all the contents back onto the card, and then it'll fix whatever corruption may have happened. This is a little bit of a screensaver here that comes up. It's just Pac-Man. Another one is R2-D2. Sorry about that once again. I am completely out of storage space, so I'll just wrap this up now. If you have any questions, just feel free to shoot me a message and I will answer it for you. If you have any issues or any problems, you can also message me about that. I will have all the resources you need to know and information that I think you should have in the description of this video, so you can just look down at that if you need to customize anything, or if you need to refresh your memory on anything. So yeah, hope you liked the lightsaber. It was fun to make. I really like how it turned out. Hopefully you enjoy it just as much as I have so far, and may the Force be with you.